Who is God? Who is who is God? Who is God really? This is a question many have asked. And the answer to that is God is everything. He is everyone and everything. So then, indicatively, you are indeed God. And more specifically, you are an individuation of that which is God. And so then, can God be a human? And the answer is not really. God is everything all at once. So the only thing that a human could be is a representation of everything, but not the totality, all in the same, local place as a human vessel. And they say people is God, but in reality, they are of a certain level of consciousness. Whereas God is all consciousness. And so you find a difference between what is universal and what is individual or localized. And there is a conceptual difference where God being one is without definition, without any meaning. It is the individuation of God that creates everything that has any kind of meaning. So then you, in your relative ignorance, are jumping up and down and doing all kinds of things, and in general being the self that is you. And this is adding definition to God. And of course, religious people like to argue about who is right. And essentially, the thing that they are striving for is the the universal aspect, the definition of the universal aspect, or the theory of everything from a science standpoint. Everyone's trying to figure out who God is, essentially. Or at least all the philosophical people. Because, of course, if you can create a system that collects a large portion of consciousness and are able to lead people under a teaching, then you can convince them that you are higher or closer to God than, the people who are under the teaching. And yet even such teachings are only individuations of God. But many of them have attempted to deceive you by telling you that they have the proof the theory of everything, the absolute word of God. But in reality, all they have is the ability to pull the wool over a number of people's eyes. Because all of their theories have been shot full of holes. There is no one doctrine which is or ever has been the absolute. All of them together, even, are just individuals. And they deny God because they raise their own teaching above God or equal to God. And yet, even though they raise their teaching as if it were the teaching, they still are shot down. They still are not able to prove. And at the end of the day, they have the people that follow them, which is all they really want anyways. But I, as this expression of God, am here to tell you that all of the teachings are incorrect. And always have been. None of them are universal. None of them are the totality of all things. And you might say, or they might say, that, well, we're on the right path. This is the true way. This is the correct way. And yet, such teachings are nothing more than tradition. And tradition has a major fail point in that the original teaching must be connected to the feeling that was there when that teaching was given. And old traditions, the feelings for those traditions have been long lost, if they even survived the first generation. And now they're nothing more than empty carcasses manipulated by demons and systems. And that's not to say that the real meaning cannot be discovered again, because it can. It can. But it must be actually discovered. If you are merely going along with what everyone else is doing, then you're not honoring the beginning of that tradition. And most traditions have lost the beginning. And in order to go back and find it, it would take extensive spiritual research. And even then, coming back out, teaching other people the same path would be difficult, because a lot of people tend to hear something and automatically assume, according to their pre-programmed reality. But in order to understand or feel what you would need to feel in order to understand the beginning of any tradition would require you to break and utterly demolish everything that you've ever learned. So, for most people, to honor tradition truly is just a hopeless task, essentially. It's like, well, forget about that. Like, how do I go on from where I'm at, right? But even then, that's just an excuse to not break your programming. So the question is, should you follow tradition, or should you just try to piece everything together yourself? And of course, the easy answer is follow along with whatever your neighbor is doing, right? Or, whoever you want to follow along with. It's easy to follow, in other words. And it's especially easy to follow someone that says that they have the absolute word of God, after you get over the fact that you don't really believe it, because how could you? There's no proof. But because it's easier to follow, you end up just going along with it, regardless of whether you truly believe it, because what you end up believing is their argument, not who God really is. You fall into the teaching, not to God, who is all things. I've seen people give this analogy of the ocean and the waves, where the ocean is God and the waves are people. And that's a good analogy to marry yourself to the idea that you are an expression of God. And what is that expression exactly? That would be your individual self. So what is God in this analogy, of course, is just water. This is not God in his totality, or whatever you want to look at that like. And technically, God is male and female. God is essentially no difference between anything, because God is the primal essence, and everything else is what is different. So then the theory of everything becomes the culmination of all individuation. And this is what people believe God to be. Or that is, this is what people believe the true description of God would be. And for most people, the reason why they're searching for this is because they hunger for power and any other number of worldly things. They hunger for themselves, their true selves. And yet, because they hold the individual of their self above or equal to the teaching, then they, by right, cannot inherit it, because they have profaned the true name of God by claiming that their teaching is the totality of all correctness. And I would say Show me your proof. If you are able to understand the foundation of reality, isn't your teaching only as good as your awareness? You are not God. You are an expression. And that expression is contained and flows through your vessel. And your vessel is needing to maintain the totality of all things in order to become an expression of who God is as a totality of the individuation. And there is an extreme amount of every kind of emotion involved in this containment. And people who are locked up for being crazy are on a path which is more accurate than any religious path. Not that they necessarily chose that, or even if they did, however they ended up on that path, it is a pathway that is more accurate than a pathway which is following a religion. It is not the culmination, but they are at least facing the emotion. And society gives them drugs to suppress those emotions that they either chose to face or are just in a position that they have to face them for some reason. Not to say that they're dealing with them correctly, but they're still the ones facing it, and society's reaction is to suppress them. And of course, this is not just, oh, that's them, This is you as a collective of people collectively agreeing to suppress those kinds of emotions instead of dealing with them. This is you as a personal individual, even if you're fully and completely alone and don't talk to anyone, or if you have an extensive social network and are loved by everyone. You're all the same. You're all just one singular individual. And each of you, by agreeing to suppress these kinds of emotions, to lock them away in a padded room because they make you uncomfortable. And yet, it is you. It is a part of God. It's an expression of God that you are saying is evil. You're saying it is wrong. And because of this, you reject it. Because what is behind these emotions is you. It's just little old you being who they naturally are, feeling some type of way. It's due to programming and past hurt that you react in whatever way, which is considered unhealthy. But these extreme actions are nothing more than a building up of you rejecting yourself. It gets more and more violent to gain your attention. But instead of paying attention, you give them drugs, suppress them, put them in padded rooms, put them in prison, lock them away in a closet. And then, because this could never be enough, because it's obviously not a solution, you then resort to sacrificing your neighbors, your brothers, your sisters, your family, anyone close to you. You end up picking a soft target, all as a result of the suppression of everything that you have deemed to be unfit. And you claim that you deserve happiness. So this is your reason, your excuse for doing what you do. But I would say, where is your personal sacrifice? And not just your sacrifice as in, oh, I've laid my life down, but for what reason did you lay it down? Was it so that you could merely claim victim? Or did you actually lay it down for a cause that was actually worthy to bring whatever it is back to love? Because if you laid down your life for any other reason other than love, other than true culmination of every evil that you've suppressed, then your sacrifice is vanity. It's nothing more than some wasted carcass on the side of the road, fit for scavengers. So, this sacrifice is not merely to lay down your life. That is just giving it to something else. But a true sacrifice of your individual effort is just that. It is effort toward love. Any other sacrifice is unworthy, because love is what all collectively want. So then, if you're not making an effort toward it, then you are causing only more separation. So then the level of happiness that you deserve as an individual is directly correlated with how much love you can bring to your physical and spiritual circumstances. So, what is love? Most people believe it has something to do with sex. But this is not true. It actually has nothing to do with sex or anything to do with your body at all. Even though your body is involved in and through the process, as all things must be. But what is love? And the best description is, what is the feeling of love? And of course, the feeling is to care. This is love. To care is to love.